Jackson to jump against Dickey. She mentioned Fletcher McGee, who yesterday with those 9 points had a nearly 80-game streak of scoring in double figures snapped. Gary Maxwell, our lead official, Frankie Bordeaux, Bruce Benedict rounding out the crew. The toss in the air, and we're underway here in semifinal number 1. Quarterfinal games yesterday was tight for the Citadel and Wofford. Frankly, the other 3 games, you kind of had a pretty good idea as to how it was going to go late in the first half on Saturday. We expect some tight ball games today. Jackson backing in. The double team comes. Francis Alonso, one of the guards, trying to take it away. Jackson with Jordy Kuiper knocking it away and saving it to a teammate, Demetrius Troy.
Well, Wofford went inside to try to play inside off of Jackson, but Spartans got the better of it right there with a double team from the backside with Alonso.
Troy, a very good distributor. Going to work, feeding Francis Alonso, facing a Wofford team that has Jackson and McGee, and Nathan Hoover comes off a big game against Mercer, and we've got an early foul called against the Terriers.
Well, we've got some interesting matchups as you see the starting lineups.
And UNCG with the X-Factor kind of guy at the top of that list, Marvin Smith, the senior from Richmond, Virginia. During the season, he only combined for 12 points against the Terriers, but he can get you inside and outside at a 6'8" frame and a guy who can do a lot of things athletically.
Both teams primarily half-court man-to-man.
And from downtown, Francis Alonso, who during the season had 6 3-pointers made apiece in the games against Wofford, 12 combined, and he strikes for the Spartans at the outset. Murphy, pretty layup by Storm Murphy, the freshman point guard, and Wofford's on the board. I think I did a pretty good job in the Mercer-Wofford game yesterday of not confusing my Storm with my Stormy, and we're going to continue to try the same here this afternoon. Dickey inside, Kuiper, and taken by the Terriers' Jackson.
Well, nice matchup right there at the other end. With Jackson, they only got one big Wofford.
Oh, and the roll comes off to Dickey.
It doesn't get the roll, but Jackson's the only guy, so he's got to guard either Dickey or Kuiper in transition. That leaves Trevor Stump to have to guard the other one. Big matchup right there.
Alonso, the native of Spain, a little step back. And Francis Alonso has the 5 UNCG points so far.
He was first team all SoCon for a reason. He is a talented offensive player.
Murphy averaging about 4 assists per game. When you've got a guy like Fletcher McGee who can create his own shots, sometimes you might not get assists, but Alonso battling for the rebound. He hit the deck, and we're going to have a foul. And against Cam Jackson, and that's the kind of foul that Cam Jackson just can't afford to get in this game.
No question. He's the one guy. Even though Wofford can go to 2 other guys on the benches, you see it right here. Look, that's already secured by Alonso. I know Jackson's just trying to play physical, but boy, he bangs that elbow right into the side of Alonso's head. Capete, you're exactly right. I mean, they've got to get 30 good minutes out of Cameron Jackson today.
Terriers 2 fouls in the half, 1 on Stump, 1 on Jackson. There's Smith, 6'6", a tough matchup though, on the wing or inside for Hoover, who's scrapping with it.
Boy, great job moving the feet by Nathan Hoover.
Demetrius Troy, big game yesterday, scoring 4 out of 7 beyond the arc. Can't get that attempt to go, and Murphy has the rebound.
What a good job by Murphy. Boy, Murphy came in and replaced Eric Garcia last year, as we see McGee with another 3. And he's done a really good job in a league with some upper-class junior and senior point guards. Last night he had to guard Jordan Strawberry, who's a 4th-year senior, and now Demetrius Troy, who's played a ton of minutes for Greensboro over the years.
Alonso, a catch and shoot. He released it just as fast as McGee does on the other end, and Hoover has the rebound. You see Tyron Gallery just checked in for UNCG, defending Keve Aluma, who just came on the floor for Wofford. Murphy, one of the smaller players on the court with a second field goal, and it's a 1-point game.
You're right. He's just listed at 5'11", but both of his baskets have been right at the rim.
Smith gives to Galloway. Galloway very athletic, not really a threat outside. This guy is Alonso with 10 on the shot clock. Let's see what he does. Kuiper will fire a 3, and the big fella knocks one down. Jordy Kuiper has been 4th on their team in made threes as the season's gone on, and he builds the lead out to 4.
That's the danger when you're guarding UNCG, is Kuiper can step back and take and make a 3.
Aluma, Murphy, McGee. And Fletcher McGee not having a good start. He did combine for 41 points in the 2 games, 21 in the first meeting, but he didn't score in the second half in their loss up in Greensboro back at the end of December. Smith from outside. We told you he's probably the X factor, and Marvin Smith, a 34% three-point shooter, gives him a 7-point advantage.
Well stated. Smith absolutely is the X factor, does a ton of things to help them win. He's going to guard generally the best perimeter player, which will be McGee most times. But he can also put the ball in the hole.
Stump with a quick catch and shoot. Taken off the floor by Troy. Probably could have let it go out.
Hey, other than the 2 layups by Storm Murphy, credit the Spartans' defense in the half court, forcing the Terriers into some really tough jump shots.
Troy looking things over. You can tell he's looking low over the top of the screen there for Alonzo, who got it, gave it back. Now Smith from the right wing this time. Aluma battling Galloway, out of bounds. Last touch by the sophomore Galloway for UNCG. Spartans off to a good start. They're trying to do something that's hard to do against the Wofford Terriers, make it a 3-game sweep.
It is fast and furious here in Asheville. 11-4 Spartans early.
Career win number 270 with the victory against Mercer on Saturday afternoon. And UNCG showing some pressure against this Wofford team that's trying to pull a second straight upset. This would be significantly bigger, obviously, than the one they got on Saturday.
It absolutely would. A little bit of scramble defense here out of the timeout. Haven't seen the Spartans do that a lot here late in the regular season or postseason.
Mike Young was just talking to his players a bit ago and said he wants them to be quick to the ball, make sure you're rebounding, have quick legs, and looked at Storm Murphy, said be aggressive, you're good when you're aggressive, keep driving. And Storm Murphy told Fletcher McGee to find your shot, keep shooting.
Murphy's the only one who scored for the Terriers. He's 2 out of 2. Everyone else is 0 for 6.
Well, that's a great point about Fletcher McGee. I mean, the Terriers just can't win if he doesn't play. If he doesn't make some shots. I mean, he doesn't have to play great. He doesn't have to score 45, which he did a couple of weeks ago, but he's got to make some baskets and keep the defense honest and focused on him.
Jackson, jumper inside the arc. He'll get the bounce and the roll. So Cameron Jackson picked up that quick foul early on the defensive end on it. Actually, after his team had lost the ball. Here is Troy with a runner and a little floater for Demetrius Troy, who in the ball game on Saturday and their victory against the Citadel had that big game with 14 points.
Now the Spartans go with that patented 1-2-2, back to man after made baskets. Troy beat McGee right there on that last possession. McGee doesn't get credit for really doing a nice job on Ross Cummings yesterday at Mercer, who came in red hot.
Ooh, Jackson on a pretty feed from Murphy. Storm Murphy about 4 assists a game, and Cam Jackson making the Spartans pay, and it's again a 5-point game. In a battle between teams that have already won 20 games, a league that has some impressive numbers in that regard. Troy yesterday could make several of those, doesn't today. Dickey couldn't get the rebound, but you see that Wofford, one of only a handful of, or the SoCon, one of just a handful of conferences with the 20-win distinction.
Wow, that is very impressive to be among that group. Look, there are 32 Division I conferences, and only 9 currently have 4 teams or more with 20 or more wins. Look, not on that list. Absent is the AAC, the A10, the CAA, the MAC, the Missouri Valley, the Mountain West, the West Coast. I mean, it goes on and on. That is very impressive and speaks volumes to the depth and the talent in this league.
And some good non-conference wins. These teams on the floor picked up a couple of marquee victories for the conference. Cam Jackson had a big game on both ends in Chapel Hill against North Carolina, and a couple of big possessions in Asheville here against UNCG, a Spartans team that in December stunned the Wolfpack of NC State on their home floor.
That was a nifty move right there by Cameron Jackson. That's the thing he can do against most bigs. As big as he is physically, boy, he's got good footwork and he can get around most guys.
Alonzo with Wofford putting a run together. Not going to fall for the junior for the Spartans. Jackson has scored 6 straight points. That time almost a amazing make from Hoover. Not sure if it would have counted, but he was fouled.
I thought for a moment the officials were going to miss that, but credit Hoover for trying to throw it up to get to the free throw line. The foul occurred well before that. But all of a sudden, since he returned from sitting back with his first foul. Cameron Jackson has come back alive and gets a much-deserved round of applause to take another break.
Kylia Sykes just picked up that foul. He just checked in for Westmiller. So these teams with victories against two of the Tobacco Road ACC teams this year, among their better than 20 each.
Both were legitimate wins. I mean, UNCG was better than NC State, and Wofford was better than the Tar Heels in the Dean Dome that night.
Murphy, shot clock under 10. He'll launch a three. Pegram, though, with the foul as he was able to maneuver behind Kuiper. Fresh 35. McGee will shoot it early or late in the shot clock, doesn't matter. And the ball deflected out high by Derek Brooks, and Murphy has it again.
Fletcher McGee is one of those guys. He was 3 of 9 yesterday. All shots coming from behind the three, and he's missed all 4 here today. But, boy, he's got a pretty short memory, as most great shooters do. And
that's the first one made by either McGee or Hoover, their two best outside shooters. And Fletcher McGee has tied this game, one that UNCG led earlier by 7 points. So Wes Miller wants to talk things over. He'll use his first timeout. Cam Jackson has come to play in the SoCon tourney. Big numbers on Saturday against Mercer with 18 and 10. And the guys who had only just won a national title while they fell to UNC Asheville here in the city we're in now, and also in their conference opener on New Year's Eve against this UNCG team, the first of their 2 regular season losses to the Spartans.
And that was a huge win. First ever over a top-ranked, top 25 team for the Terriers.
Kuiper couldn't get the friendly roll for a second made three, and the ball comes down to Trey Hollowell, the Terriers, and Wofford looking to take a lead for the first time this afternoon.
That's the thing with Jackson. Boy, he has come up big in big games. You talked about the 6 blocks. He had 18 points and 9 rebounds in that win. His biggest issue is he's foul prone. He's fouled out of 7 games this season, and he's such a big part of their offense, or defense for that matter.
Wofford keeps with 8 on the shot clock. Kyron Galloway back in, and a guy who can also be a real factor for Wes Miller, as Dickey will get a rest, because Galloway at 6'8", but a really good vertical leap, and he can cause some fits inside.
The sophomore from Milton, Georgia. I say this respectfully, he is James Dickey light. Doesn't quite have the offensive abilities, but boy, those two got a bright future.
Well, Jackson, nice move, went for the rebound. It'll go back over to UNCG.
Kuiper, right there, he's the guy that really has been, I mean, he's a great teammate. He is probably the best student athlete in the Southern Conference for all that he does in the classroom, on the court, and in the community. But he's been rock solid for the Spartans this year.
Alley-oop lob, Miller went right through his hands. Good look from Alonzo, and Miller's a dunking machine. Quick move the other way, and there's Galloway showing his athletic skill, rejecting Donovan Thiem Love. It'll head back and find Galloway, who can't finish. And out of bounds, back over to Wofford. Well, about as much excitement around the rim with no points to show for it right there.
And certainly that lob play, that was called out of the last timeout. They just weren't able to connect, just a little bit behind Miller. And then you see a glimpse of what Galloway can do. He blocks from the help side, and then he runs 94 feet. He just couldn't finish.
Galloway just 10 blocks on the year coming in, so he's still kind of learning to find his place. Hoover. And Jackson low block. Kuiper giving him the space with the help coming from Smith. 6 on the shot clock. Hung up down low. Forcing it is Jackson. And there's Marvin Smith. Numbers for the Spartans. A lane for Smith. And one.
That was a point of emphasis for the Terriers, was transition defense, because the Spartans getting it out, and everybody can handle the ball save Kuiper in transition, and you see Smith right there just take it coast to coast.
Marvin Smith able to snap the 13-all tie. First bucket in a while for UNCG after that hot start. And so the senior out of Richmond, Virginia, 78% from the line. And it'll come off. And there's Stump, who gets a lot of rebounds for a guard, and he leaped in for that one.
Well, in certain situations, he's playing, in essence, they're playing 4 out, 1 in, but he's kind of the power forward, if you will, for the Terriers.
Aluma, backup center, so during this stretch and probably through the under 8, they're getting Jackson some rest and even more importantly, keeping him from adding another foul.
Hoover's been quiet here lately.
Oh, what a nice fake and a move as he goes underneath the defense on the baseline.
If you can't shoot it from outside, go back door and see what you can do. Force the defense to see if their head's on a swivel.
Hoover had 16 points in the last meeting between these two in Spartanburg. Malik Massey will back up to Demetrius Troy running the point. Alonzo back to Massey. Rare shot for Massey, and it's going to come off to McGee. Hoover in transition. Loves to do that. Can't execute, and Galloway will give it to Massey.
Certainly the Terriers can play fast, but I think this is probably just one level too high for them right now. Advantage Spartans if it continues at this pace.
And Donovan Thiem Love with the bump on Francis Alonzo.
Well, watch this here again. He's riding Alonzo's hip just a little bit too much. Now he's complaining that Alonzo was kind of pushing off, but that's the right call.
Fourth foul on the Terriers. 2 so far on UNCG as Thiem Love picked up his first. Actually, the second on Donovan Thiem Love, so he's going to head to the bench. Jackson back in, so he comes in at 8:21 remaining in the first half. Pegram coming out a little bit too strong, and Alonzo, you saw the body language. He's skilled. Spaniard whose dad was a pro coach over in Spain, and he knows all the little tricks of the trade right there.
Well said, partner. You know, both teams really want a hard hedge on ball screens at the top. And if you're crafty like Alonzo right there, you can kind of step in and create enough contact that force that official to put the whistle in his mouth.
Dickey crossing over on Pegram and a spin move, but a little bit too much of a spin, and he'll turn it over. UNCG comes in, giving it up a little under 14 times a game. That turnover that gives it back to Wofford, one of the rare moments where they've made a mistake. In fact, that's their first turnover in the game.
Yep, 12 minutes without a turnover in a high-level semifinal tournament game. Pretty darn good. Well, McGee's over there calling for the ball, knowing he's got Dickey on him. And now he's just standing. You got to move. You got to force the defense to have to lock in, run himself off screens.
Wofford has not led in this ball game. Jackson, that's Galloway defending him. 4 on the shot clock. Jackson just inside the arc, grazed the rim, scramble for it. Hoover the hustle. Press 30. There's Murphy on the left wing.
Boy, heads-up play again by Pegram. That's one of those saved possessions. Recycle the shot clock. 50-50 opportunity. Give him another chance.
McGee with Massey defending. Dickey stepped out of bounds as he went for that steal. And the Terriers will keep it when we return to Asheville, North Carolina. Station welcomed them at the train depot when they arrived in Malaga, Spain. They were treated like kings, the UNCG travel party. And in fact, in the local newspaper there, they noted in a story that Francis Alonzo, probably the third most famous citizen or native of Malaga, Spain, right behind the veteran actor Antonio Banderas and an artist named Pablo Picasso. And then Francis Alonzo on that list in Malaga, Spain. So he's been a big deal in UNCG's program, as you saw him getting arrested. Pretty big deal back in his hometown.
He is a big deal in a lot of places on several different continents. That's a great story.
Wes Miller in that last break told his players to be intense, grab the ball with 2 hands. He said, what is this one-handed stuff? Do your job, do it right. This is a battle. He said, we haven't even started playing good yet. I need you guarding your face off.
And that is a very interesting way to put it. Although the way Cam Jackson was defending against Mercer yesterday, I'm surprised he didn't take a face-off or 2. Here's Smith out high. And the ball run down by Collins, battled for by McGee, tapped to Smith, and Marvin at the basket.
So McGee tapped that to try to keep it alive, and unfortunately tapped it to a Spartan player.
Back in front by 2 for UNCG.
You know, you talk about what Coach Miller's talking about. Really, neither team has played great statistically. I think a lot of that has to do just with the pressure half-court defense they're seeing.
Hoover finds a seam, and he goes past the Defensive Player of the Year and draws the foul. Hoover.
Yeah, hadn't been able to knock down the threes, but you see it, and he challenges Dickey. He is fired up to get that shot over the long, athletic, leading shot blocker in the Southern Conference.
Third team foul against this UNCG squad, which could see Wofford take the lead for the first time today. Dickey picking up his first. And Hoover, the native of Memphis, 82% on the year, and that's our first lead change.
The Terriers are an outstanding free throw shooting team, and something to watch as we get into the second half, when every possession and every point counts come a do-or-die tournament situation.
Wofford among the national leaders in free throw percentage as a team, 78%. Lob for Dickey. He's able to corral way under on Jackson. Spins, and Jackson went for the block and just picked up his second personal foul with 5:51 to go before the intermission.
There we go again. Watch this. Nice job by Troy recognizing and throwing it only where Dickey could catch it. Dickey long enough to be able to spin back to the basket. Jackson kind of slapping the side of his hip, knowing that, boy, may have cost himself and his team some minutes here as Pegram checks in.
Dickey 58% on the season from the line, makes the first one. He had one of his 6 double-doubles on the year against the Terriers, and the road win for the Spartans when he had 10 points and 12 rebounds in that victory back on February 20th.
Mark that down at 5:51 here of the first half. UNCG up 1 as Jackson goes to the bench, and I don't know, unless things get really sideways, if Mike Young will want to bring Cam Jackson back here.
Second lead change as UNCG moves back in front. Pegram, very solid game for him against Mercer yesterday. Now the guy with the ball right there, number 50, is going to be counted on down the stretch here in the opening half.
All Pegram needs to do here is just he needs to be a facilitator inside out. Try to find Hoover and McGee and other shooters.
See him trying to get position on Dickey. Hoover off the shot fake. Teardrop runner. Miller mistimed the jump, but Troy takes it off the floor. Troy, a little too fancy that time. Good job by Pegram to distract, and then McGee came up with it. Other end. Miller got in the way of Hoover, who's hung up, and Dickey takes it away. And that's what happens when you got a guy with length. You just can't pass it by him. Miller down the lane, and he tried to dunk it, followed by Collins, who puts it up and in. And the Asheville, North Carolina native playing in the arena in his hometown has a chance at a three-point play.